Do you believe that we are in a bubble right now?
I think we are in a bubble, and I think the people that will get hurt are the people that are thinking short term. If you just randomly try to implement AI and tell people how to use AI, it could also lead up to a disaster.
Intelligence is cheap. Everyone has it. The real scarcity in the world today is understanding. Our guest has a ruthless philosophy. If an AI solution does not directly increase your revenue or reduce your costs, it is not worth building. He isn't just another tech influencer riding the recent AI wave. He's a boxer, an athlete, from cutting his teeth at Yuke's Net-a-Porter to scaling data at MoonPay and Babylon to becoming a Y Combinator alumni. And let's be clear, YC is the exact same forge that built Airbnb, Stripe, and Reddit. Harder to get into than Harvard, with alumni worth over $1 trillion. You don't play games there, you build empires. And that is exactly the empire he is building right now. As the CEO of Visum Labs, Visum Labs doesn't just do AI. His team takes the exact same architectures he used to scale billion-dollar unicorns and drops them directly into enterprises to wipe out thousands of manual hours overnight. And he runs Visum Labs the exact same way he steps into a boxing ring. There is absolutely no wasted movement. He warns that the era of just typing clever prompts is over.
It's just a matter of time. Agents are extremely complex. They will always tell you that you are right, you are the best. The value of being right is very high, but also the cost of being wrong is very high.
This is Leonardo Ubbiali.
Hello everyone, this is Florentin. I am here at Between 0 and 1 with Leonardo Ubbiali from Visum Labs, or how is that pronounced, just to make sure?
I think it's Visum Labs, Latin pronunciation.
Visum Labs, got it. Okay, Leo, very, very excited to have you here. And I have a bit of context. Oren mentioned that you are a very smart, very capable person, but I will let you tell us a bit yourself.
Sure. Oren is very kind. I'm Leo. I run a data and AI consulting company called Visum Labs. Very quickly, I have a background in data and machine learning before the AI wave. And as the AI wave was developing, I saw this opportunity to build, let's say, a full stack data and AI partner that could help businesses implement AI at scale with a particular focus on what is now called context engineering. So what comes before the model, which is very data heavy. So yeah, that's me and my company in 1 minute.
Awesome. We always start with one simple question, and it's something like this. AI, love it or hate it? How is it for you?
Sure, I surely love it. If I need to pick, I think it's a great opportunity. It's like another industrial revolution. Sometimes there are some hiccups, there are some blockers on the road, but if we basically see the helicopter view, go up and see how the world is changing, we would basically look back in 10, 20 years, not 2 years, and see this as a great inflection point in the development of the world. And therefore, definitely the answer is love it.
I noticed you have several projects that you've started, and one of them was accepted at Y Combinator. I have lots of students who are very interested in this startup world, entrepreneurship, and Y Combinator is the thing to be it's out there. It's number one when you think about. And could you tell us a bit about your experience? How was it for you? What impact it had? And anything that you can share, of course.
Of course, yeah. Y Combinator is the best accelerator in the world. It was a great learning and growing experience for me. The company I stepped down from the company at the end of YC, but during that period, I had opportunity to really streamline the way I operate and the way I think as an entrepreneur. So it's definitely a experience that I would recommend anyone going. At the same time, I don't think it's a prerequisite to build anything that is meaningful. And also, it's not a validation that what you are building is meaningful, right? So it's neither a necessary or mandatory condition to build anything that works.
Was it hard to get accepted there? Did you try multiple times or got there from the first try?
We got in the first time. There are a few let's say, factors. Of course, like skills and experience matters. There is also a luck factor that is always at play. It's pretty hard. I think like the approval rates like oscillates between 0.5 and 1% depending on the batch. But again, I would not share the message that if you don't get in, like you are not worth it. You can like keep trying getting in. There are a lot of like YC successful company that got in after several times and then became successful. So yeah, like if you think that's the path you want to go through, like keep applying. At the same time, that's not like the only path to build a successful company.
I saw that you recently published an article, and it sounds like there's the title, Intelligence is Cheap, Understanding is Scarce. Could you unpack a bit on this, on like what made you write it first and what's the story behind it?
Sure. Over the festive period, I had a much needed time to reflect, have some long thoughts, and I was thinking about what's the, I would say, short-term future of the AI industry and where we are heading to. And the key core thesis of that article is that intelligence is cheap and is available to everyone right now. I think to some extent, and then it's very semantic, Opus 4.15, the cloud model is AGI and everyone can access it and the costs are not that high, right? So we are coming out from the era of finding the best model, try different models and see what works best. And we are moving towards like the context engineering era, the context area, where what matters is what is the information you give to this intelligence to operate in your reality. Now, what does that mean, like from a pragmatic point of view? Let's say you are a big fintech company and you want to build an automated chatbot for your customers. Yes, you can plug Opus 4.5 on top of your data warehouse and ask them like to work out whatever questions the customer asks, but they might probably encounter some errors because they don't know what transaction revenue final against transaction revenue mean, what are the different entities. So they need context to operate on the information they rely on. And I always do the analogy that like a very intelligent person, like in a company, if it's not properly onboarded, if it's not properly fed with the context about the company, it's probably not going to perform because they don't have like the real material to operate on. Same with AI. You can have the best model, but if you are not able to stitch together all the context the model need to get the task they are implemented for done, they won't do it, or they will hallucinate, like they will like create something that is not meant. So I think that's like where we're moving, and there will be a broader focus on context engineering as a whole. There will be less focus on prompt engineering specifically, which is, let's say, a subset of context engineering, because even there, like we are coming to a place where we could industrialize prompt engineering. So before, let's say till now, prompt engineering is still an artisan work. So there are like some best practices, and then you as an artisan craft the best prompt to achieve the task that you have in mind. There are like more tools coming up, more like frameworks like the SPY that allow you to industrialize this process. So allow you to iterate on what's the best version of the prompt so that you can have like the best prompt given a task. And then what matters is what context you give to the prompt.
I have a curiosity as well. Do you find it harder to work with agents, AI, and so on, or with people from the companies? I saw you mentioned ontologies somewhere in your
Still
article.
with agent, still with agent. Depends on what dimension. For example, from one side, agent work 24/7. And they don't complain. They are always very productive. And human, by nature, they cannot, right? At the same time, agents are extremely complacent and they will always tell you that you are right, you are the best. And of course, they can do the tasks that you have submitted to them unless you train them properly to be not that complacent, right? And that's a like weird and dangerous trade-off to play with because it might be very tempting to use agents for anything because they will do something, right? They will not say, no, I'm not able to do it. They will do something, but probably sometimes it's better to not do something if the output is not what you expect.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Usually like technical people and developers, they prefer working with them.
No, I'm a very pragmatic person. I think like we are moving to a direction where it will be like easier to work with agents overall, but I don't think we are in a place, and I really I don't think we are in a place where we say, oh yeah, like I have substituted like 90% of my workforce with agents. I think those claims are like sensationalistic claims that like are part of the industry. But the reality, like if you speak with a lot of companies and then you do AI implementation on the ground as we do at Visum Labs, you realize that we are still pretty far. And that's also like the challenge and the opportunity ahead.
I got it. So jobs are safe for a while, because this is also a topic that comes up from time to time, and people are scared a bit on
for
this.
a while. There are definitely like some jobs that are, it's just a matter of time. And the framework that I usually apply in this context is your job pretty standard? Is there a clear input and output? What are like technically the degrees of freedom of your job? So the more it's standard, the more there is a clear input and output, the more a machine can learn how to transform that input, the output, the sooner that job would be streamlined by AI and then fully automated by AI. The more your job is about interactions, like human touch, and that, the less it's at risk, in my opinion. But of course, over time, a lot of job will be like reduced, like thanks to this AI wave.
Yeah, I fully agree. But the question is this: do you believe that at one point in the future, your own job will be able to be like done by AI? And when, if the answer is yes, when do you think that that might be possible? How far in the future?
Depends, like it's really hard to define what my job is as an entrepreneur. But let's take like the job, for example, of like a data scientist. I think yes, at some point. Again, depends like what type of data scientist. If it's someone that simply needs to be build like a dashboard given like a clear set of data, I think that's already automated. If it's someone that like more strategically needs to understand what recommendation to give to the business and to the product based on data, is still like higher degrees of freedom, but more and more like all knowledge job would be like streamlined by AI. I am not in a position, and I don't like to make like prediction, or is it like 5 years, 10 years? But in general, I would say it will take more than what people think. I really discount any like, let's say, sensationalistic, like, yeah, the world is ending tomorrow. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's not going to happen that soon.
Got it. You are, let's say, involved in this, and you are in the roots and in the trenches. Do you believe that we are in a bubble right now? Because everybody keeps saying that, but things are still moving. So what's your take on this?
I think we are in a bubble. I think any disruptive technology and industrial revolution needs to go through a bubble phase. The bubble probably will pop, and then we will reset to a lower level, and from there grows slowly but constantly. And I think the people that will get hurt by the bubble are the people that are thinking short term and just like try to squeeze like the value in the next like 6 months, 1 year. But if you are like, if you believe like in the AI revolution as, let's say, a technology to change the way we work and we operate and we produce value, I think this will not go away, right? I'm not sure when the bubble will pop. I'm not sure what will be the implications of the bubble popping, but I do believe there is a little bit much overhype.
Yeah, it's a buzzword for 3 years now. So it all started with ChatGPT, I believe, and then
I think that it was
blew up.
Probably early 2023 time, and then like it blew up from there. Yeah, but you would be surprised by how much like standard people or like standard companies, good companies, like big companies that are not technological companies are still like not in the bubble. So I think the opportunity is there as well.
Yes, but it is interesting that even if they are not necessarily automating their processes, most likely their employees are using the free version of ChatGPT to write emails and all that.
That's something we see pretty often, right?
Yeah.
So the company approaches us or wants to explore how AI can help them because they have a bottom-up pressure from their employees. And those employees are using like ChatGPT randomly without like a proper enterprise account. Upload, usually it's a security concern, right? Security and compliance concern. Or they're using ChatGPT on their accounts and I'm very concerned they upload like the data. So can we do it as a company properly? Yes, and then from there, like we map out what are like the possible use cases and how to do that. Is it like a ChatGPT use case? Is it like a software that you can integrate use case, or is it something we need to build a completely custom solution for that to provide value to you? That's how it usually works.
And how do you see the battle between OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic? It may be between the first two, OpenAI and Google. it's more dramatic.
So I'm not really into this like kind of like dramatic talks. Like from a first principle perspective, I think like Google has all the assets to extract value from this AI wave, and they are the best positioned for that. Of course, OpenAI now has built a strong first mover advantage on the consumer side, like ChatGPT, but I would not underestimate like the overall distribution advantage that Google has with all the users that have, on top of the cloud advantage that they own the cloud, right? That as well. If I were to put like $1 on it, I would put it on Google as a company.
Yes.
But I don't think this is like a winner takes it all market, and there is space like for a few players probably.
Okay, then on the more technical side, I'm curious, are you creating MCPs for your customers, for example? Do you believe that the standard will be adopted by everyone, or you are just doing some custom code where needed, or
We have done
on need basis?
Yeah, we have done MCPs where like we see it as the best fit. I do think is a good framework SDK to standardize how like systems talk with AI. At the same time, I don't think it's like a mandatory condition to do any AI work. So the way we approach problems at Visum Labs is very pragmatic and is not academic in any way, right? So we say, okay, what's the problem ahead? What's the most efficient and most efficient way to get this problem solved, and then we propose it for our customers, and then we implement it. And again, usually there are two layers. Either maybe it's already a tool that we can integrate, or it's something we can build from scratch. And then when building from scratch, what are the developer frameworks that we can use to get this custom implementation done? And of course, if there is an MCP component, great. Otherwise, we are not fixating on it.
Got it. One thing that also popped in one of your articles is that the alpha has shifted from how you talk to the model to how you orchestrate the environment, what you mentioned before. We are no longer artisans crafting the perfect sentence. We are architects building the factory floor. And the question is, do you believe that LLMs are becoming the new processors? Like it's just a model where you need to tell it what to do with the right context and so on, and otherwise it's just a tool.
Yeah, it's just like, that's exactly like my, let's say, middle to long term vision. I don't think it's happening right now, but I think we're going to that, and you need to prepare for that. So like you will have like some sort of context that you craft and you put into this processor, and thanks to, let's say, prompt engineering like frameworks, you will be able to iterate on how you are telling the LLM what to do, this processor what to do, and the value shifts upstream into the context you give like to this LLM to do the best work.
So interesting times.
That's going to be like the highest leverage, let's say, variable in the equation, where maybe the equation, if we really simplify it, is context, prompt, and intelligence layer, which is the LLM that you use.
It's very interesting because it's been like relatively short time since LLMs were like this mystical, impressive. Everybody was looking at it, and now it's like a hammer.
Exactly. Now, like we've seen, like already Palantir has like shared this, like in one of the last OLens meeting. I don't remember how they call them, but basically federation of like LLMs where you have same context, same prompt, and you iterate through LLMs, and you see when there is convergence or divergence of outputs. That's kind of like, again,
like
just
the AI council kind of framework, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it sounds expensive to me. Like, okay,
it depends. Like,
Depends
what's the task at hand and what the cost of being wrong, right? If you're, especially in highly regulated, high compliance kind of environments, usually fintech, insurance, the cost of being right the value of being right is very high, but also the cost of being wrong is very high. And therefore, you're happy to invest more into the task to have an higher accuracy and decrease the false negatives rates and the false positives.
Yeah, I saw that you have lots of experience in the fintech industry. What's like the acceptance rate there for AI agents? Because it sounds risky, it sounds dangerous.
The bar in fintech is very high. Specifically high for like high compliance tasks. I'm thinking about KYC, underwriting, those types of like standard layers in LLM. In fintech, where you don't only need to be right, but you also need to have an explainability layer that tells you how you have reached that decision. So let's take an example, a classic fintech example. You want to use an LLM to decide if the customer that comes to your door is a real customer, so KYC. If you tell a customer, no, I'm not letting you in because I don't think you're real, you need to give an explanation on that. Okay, LLMs by definition are non-deterministic. So how are you able to trace the reasoning behind the LLM decision to give an answer to that customer? That's much more complex, and that's not a new problem in fintech. Like before, let's say generative AI, we use and we still use like for most of LLMs, for most of like tasks, traditional machine learning. You need like to give like an answer, and that's something else I see in the industry. Like a lot of tasks are not AI. Generative AI is not the best fit for those tasks, but still is machine learning. And we are bundling together in just like this big bucket, AI, generative AI plus machine learning, which is fine from a narrative perspective, everything AI. But people that do the stuff then like know pretty well that there is like a fundamental difference between generative AI using LLMs and traditional machine learning that we have been working on for the last like 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it's a very interesting use case. And I imagine a point where these fake videos, like it's very easy to change your face with whatever person you want. Could this like damage the tools that we already have for KIC, like you mentioned?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there are like all sorts of like, I think that's another like industry in a whole. Fraud detection and like false identity detection is a big problem. It is becoming a big problem for a lot of platforms that are investing heavily. And they will also like decrease their like overall like economics because they would need to add a layer to strip out this like identify and then strip out this like false people or false entity that come to them thanks to AI.
Yeah, do you think that like certificates could be the solution like we do
I'm not an
HTTPS?
expert. I'm not an expert at all. I'm not an expert at all. What I know is like top of mind like for a lot of people,
Sure.
especially because like false identity has always been a problem in fintech. Now it's like the barrier to entry to that are way lower. And therefore more and more people are trying. Yeah, another headache for the fintech.
Yeah, but it could be an opportunity for new jobs.
As well, yeah, or like new capabilities overall. And again, I think here the general message is, if we abstract up a little bit, is as new job will be like cancelled out by the AI. Sorry, all jobs will be cancelled out. There are new jobs coming up.
But we need to adapt, or people need to adapt.
Yeah, but that's always been true. Like in the history of like industrial revolution, you remember the latest like second industrial revolution. They will like say, "Oh no, we don't want the machines. We want to do stuff like manually." And then like they found another job at some point.
I hope that happens again.
I hope that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and one more question. There was an ROI on the AI. Like ROI comes before hype. And I'm curious, is AI profitable right now as it is? What's your opinion on this?
Do you mean like AI the models or like let's say an AI project in a company?
In general, no, I mean for the companies, like using AI in a company, is it already profitable if
if they use
right?
it properly, as any kind of like technology, if they use it properly, yes. What we do like with the companies we work with is try to clearly map like their AI implementation, their AI project to the P&L and see how they impact, like using also napkin money is all good, but like how they impact the P&L, do on a high level, does this project increase revenue, reduce costs, both what's the expected impact? And most of times, like the ROI of those investment is a no-brainer, right? At the same time, if you just like randomly try to implement AI and tell people how to use AI, it might come as a distraction and have a probably productivity decrease effect. But it could also lead up to a disaster because the output that comes out can be wrong. It can be, let's say, less proficient than a human doing it. So it's how you use the technology. If you use it properly, of course, the productivity is much higher. And therefore, like the ROI is.
Makes sense. And what would you tell to a company trying to implement AI right now? More like, what are the dangers? What are the danger zones? What should they avoid doing, or what should they be careful at if they want
I would
to implement something?
Start from the simple, very deterministic, high volume tasks. Start from there and use this crawl, work, run approach. So get familiar with AI on a simple stakes task and then graduate up to much higher stakes tasks. Don't try necessarily to go to the highest effort, highest impact task first, but have that. Usually we map like all the use cases into a 2-dimension graph where we have effort of implementation on one side and you have value, and we try to start like in the bottom right quadrant, right, where there is high value but low effort of implementation.
So baby steps, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And one question that we also have at the end, and between 0 and 1 is a bit metaphorical, but if you were to give a score of the current AI models, like you mentioned, Claude Opus 4.5, with from 0 where it can do nothing and 1 where it could do anything that you would like from kind of an assistant or maybe even yourself. That job for data scientists that you mentioned. Okay. Between this, where do you rate, from your gut feeling right now, the current AI models?
So Opus 4.5, in my opinion, is the best model if you consider all the possible use cases of applications. So coding, personal assistance, rating, assets, images, text, and so on and so forth. Opus 4.5 probably is 9. I think, again, like, depending on the definition, but I think it's pretty much AGI.
So 9, 0.9.
Yeah.
So close to 1.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great. Yeah, and also
that's the highest score so far.
Yeah, from how LLMs are built. So we need to remind, and I will close this off with this, that LLMs are next token prediction machines. All right. So in that context, it's a 9. 9 out of 10, 0.9 out of 1, whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, then if we go out from this framework, there is more room to grow. But LLMs are not out of this framework. They are an expedition machine. So as an expedition machine, I think it's nice. But like also the other models are very good. Like Gemini 3, I think is comparable to Opus 0.5 on a lot of like tasks. So again, that's why I say intelligence now is cheap. What matters is the context layer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leo. I will not keep you more than this.